today's world, going out of the house, is a dangerous thing. So we do appreciate that. We just wanted to take a moment. And by the way, I'm Claudine, and this is Avery, Mark's wife and son. We just wanted to really take this opportunity to thank you guys, for your outpouring of love and support. We feel the love from all around the world, and it's really helped us to get through this very hard time, and support's really helped us navigate our new reality, and take care of Mark's medical expenses and help me raise Avery as a single parent. So thank you all. And while Mark's life was cut short, his reach was far. He leaves a lasting legacy of love and friendship, which has been felt by just looking all of these faces out here, and all the messages and we just appreciate everything so much. Mark was an extraordinary human being. He was an amazing husband and father. He was the most authentic and generous person I've ever met. I'm sure a lot of you and some of the people speaking will share that same theme. His passion for skateboarding, music, and making the world a better place was evident in the way he lived his life. So even though his life was short, it was a life lived well, and I know I'm learning from it, and I hope to live my rest of my life, taking some of those lessons from him. Losing Mark's left a big hole in our family and the world at large, but we get signs all the time that he's still with us, and we're sure he's still shaking things up in heaven or wherever he is right now. We also want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the people, here or couldn't be here, who've also lost loved ones due to the pandemic, have been personally affected. Our hearts are with you. I know just even trying to survive in this insane world is, an effort, and our hearts are with you all. So. And then just to honor Mark's memory today, we're doing this Mark style. So, he's not here, so we're carrying on the legacy of a Mark event. So, please enjoy yourself. We're skating, there's music, everything that Mark loves so much. And, Mark used to quote this lyric from a song often, and since this, it really keeps coming to mind that, enjoy yourselves, it's later than you think. So thanks again for joining us, and please, have a great time today. Thank you. And then there's ice cream. So Mark had a sweet tooth, and one of his favorite things was ice cream. So after we're done talking up here, the Archie's truck will be out there. So please enjoy ice cream on Mark. And then Avery wants to say a couple words as well. Avery doesn't want to say Okay, thank you everyone. So I took us over to Hago and Jerry, who's going to be our MC for today. He's a dear family friend and a great friend to Mark. And Hago, it's all you.
Well, thank you very much. I was asked to, wow. Everyone started crying. There's a lot of people here. So thank you, Claudine and Avery. We're going to get you to speak no matter what. So I am the master of ceremony, I guess. My job is to kind of keep this moving, folks. It's a tragic event that's happened, but look at the celebration here. I'm going to say only a few words, and the people that know me are probably like, yeah, right. And then my job is to invite people up. We've got a lot of great speakers here today. Again, a lot of people came from far and wide, and we appreciate and love you for that. I know the skateboard community, as I'm seeing them all, that live far away that have come, so thank you. Why am I up here? Who am I? My name is Hago Nigerian. Skateboarders know me as Hago, I guess. But, I met Mark like a lot of you, and he made a very profound impact on their lives, right? I have a couple stories. Everyone's got Mark stories, right? words that come to mind when thinking of Mark Waters, right? Generosity, compassion, kindness, determination, boss man, outspoken, open-minded, humor, laughter, and love. Now the humor, Mark had his humor, so it was a little bit, Hago, where are you? You know, he had to stay in there. But, you know, it has to be said, it hurt us all. Mark's passing is the most extreme, unfortunate situation that's happened because of a few inconsiderate people that exposed him to COVID, which caused him to die. That's tragic, that's sad, we can all be very angry. Those people have to live with themselves. That's all I gotta say. You know, if you're stuck being yourself for the rest of your life, and you're not, you know, that's pretty bad. So, for all of you that have, you know, endured this pandemic crisis and succeeded and lived good lives, thank you and continue to. I met Mark through Lance, our good friend. So I've only known him 20 years, but it feels like I've known him my whole life, which I think most of you. You know, Lance called and said, hey, we're playing music, you still play? I got this friend Mark, and he's got a studio, he's got a ramp. And then we met at La Habra Skatepark, and he had an inflammable material, stiff little finger shirt, you know, and he just kind of comes up, does an axle stone, goes, hey, you're a Hago. And he drops in and leaves. I'm like, it's La Habra, it's near La Mirada. No, I mean, since then, we played music. We were in Contribution, Stengans, we started with Lance and Cyril, Contribution, Action Now, and then we all, you know, Tom got busy, Mark had a kid, we didn't play for years, and we started playing again. And you know, it was beautiful, and then COVID happened, but you know, he just gave so much, right? He was a parent, and then we would stay late after band practice and talk till 12:31 about life, love, skating, music, art. And then he met Claudine, and that just, you know, that it amplified everything. This guy who used to tell me, why are you writing love songs, blah, 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 you know, all of a sudden was like, hey, I know what you mean now, you know, and of course, Avery changed his life, but it should be said, before that was Browntown. I mean, before Mark had his own child, he raised so many kids, okay? I mean, the impact of this was incredible. He would take them on tour. He would give them clothes and shoes that helped their parents, you know, raise their kids. Give them skateboards. The generosity was endless. And to see that come out of a human being, I was just like, wow, this guy's amazing. So, and then the Olympics happened, right? He helped develop that whole thing and didn't get to see it. So, Mark Waters, you know, so really, I started writing songs again, and I wrote a song, I tried, and I still haven't done it. It's called Because of Mark. I thought of all these things he's done and all the people he's touched. I mean, because of Mark, I would have titled my speech Because of Mark, but it's not really a speech. I'm speaking openly about a man I loved who helped me live through my life through dark times, and I'm glad you're all here to help celebrate him, right? So, with that, you know, that is a great quote. You know, the specials did enjoy yourselves. It's later than you think. But he would always give me the lines that he liked and then pretend like he didn't know what band they came from. Again, Mark humor. He'd be like, hey, who wrote that song? You know, and it was something basic like, you go up and you come down, working for the clampdown. Who wrote that? You know, it was just Mark humor. So with that, I have a really beautiful eulogy I get the pleasure of reading, which is talking more about his life on levels I didn't know. So I'm not going to go on and on. I just want to say thank you all for being here. And my job is to bring people up and let them share their love and speak. So I would like to invite next our good friend Lance Mountain to say a few words on Mark's behalf.
Song. Wow. So, over 12 years ago, Mark and Claudine invited me and asked me to, I believe, do an opening prayer and read a scripture at their wedding. And I got a text asking if I could do an opening prayer today, and so I will. Whoever is open to hear that. So I just want to lift this whole thing up in prayer. And just want to come before Lord, I just come before you and I just thank you for your grace and mercy and your love in our lives and our peace over. We want to have your peace, Lord, that surpasses all understanding, Lord, in our lives, Lord. And you've given that in times of joy and times of fun and times of trouble and times of struggles and rough times that we go through, Lord, like today. And we first want to thank you, Lord, that Mark was your son first, Lord, and then he was son to Fred and Judy. He was brother to Brenning and Martha and Laura. He was husband to Claudine and father to just precious Avery, Lord. And we pray for peace and comfort in their lives, Lord. With uncertainties, we trust in you, Lord, and we understand that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever, Lord. And the rest of us that are gathered here today, Mark was a friend to us. He was a helper. He was a mentor. He was an employer, an employee. He was someone that wove so many fabrics of our lives together in this thing that we enjoy in our small little world of skateboarding, Lord. And I pray for the peace and the comfort for people who are going through different seasons in life and different understandings, Lord. I just lift this up in your name, your precious name, Jesus Christ, Lord. I pray for the comfort and the peace over our community, Lord. I just thank you in Jesus' name. I know we've been calling this Mark's last event, I guess, or something, but there's going to be many more events, and every event we get to, what Mark did in our lives, and the things he wove is going to be remembered in every event. Every time we get together, we're going to remember the things that Mark brought to us, and as people come up and speak, it's going to be obvious to all of us how much he really brought us together, and we just love him and thank him for that.
All right. Actually, so now I am speaking on behalf of Laura and Martha and Brenning and the Waters family, but Laura and the brothers and sisters wrote this beautiful thing that's going to take me a bit to get through because it choked me up at times too, but this is a formal eulogy, right? Which we need to hear because reading it, I learned so much about Mark. Mark Owen Waters was born on October 20th, 1966. So I think some of you probably knew that Wednesday was his birthday, and today he would have been 55, right? So that hurts. Before he was a skateboarder, a friend, a musician, a husband, photographer, and father, he was a son and brother. Mark was the fourth child of Fred and Judy Waters, both deceased. He's also the younger brother of Brenning Waters, Martha Waters, and Laura Waters, all of whom are here today. There was a gap in age of 16, 13, and 10 years to his siblings. And he grew up for the most part as an only child. He lived in the same house in San Jose until he left home for college. Mark's knack for making friends usually came at an early age, and being an only child didn't mean he was alone much. He lived in a neighborhood with 72 kids, and there were always someone to play with or to hang with. Mark went to private schools from K through 12. Our parents were big on education and instilled in all of us the love for learning and reading. It didn't matter that we went to different schools and to the neighborhood kids. He had best friends all around the neighborhood. Mark started at a young age playing sports, first baseball, then soccer, which led to a lifelong love of the sport. He was a player, then a coach, all through high school, and as an adult, he played in over 30 league. Wow. He also were a family that loved music, and he grew up playing piano, which evolved later into lifelong, playing guitar. Even though he loved other sports, skateboarding is what changed his life. His love for skateboarding started in San Jose. There's probably several of you here today that skated with him on his ramp, our parents' ramp, Montauk Banks, Winchester Park, Raging Waters, or Cab's ramp, and could tell stories for days, right? He also created skate zines such as 408 Zine. Anybody ever heard that? Before he entered college, he served in the military for a brief time and was honorably discharged when he broke his arm. Let's be honest, he probably broke the arm from skateboarding. And in terms of the military thing, I don't think any of the band members that have been in that room ever saw his military side of discipline, right? Hey, don't put that water cup down, blah, blah, blah. You know, this guy. Yeah, he moved south to San Diego, got his photography degree at Palomar College. I think Grant Britton teaches now. And really started focusing on skateboarding photos. By the way, if you didn't notice, the wall back there is all photography Mark has made from bands, skateboarding. You know, it does really show his art form. So there's that. When he had his first photos published in Transworld magazine, he was thrilled. Those integral days at Del Mar Skate Ranch and becoming friends with Todd Swank led to Mark working with him at Tomieto. There were many nights he slept on the office floor with his good old dog, Booker. Any of you remember Booker? I know a lot of you. As his career in skateboarding industry grew, he started his own record label, Goldenrod Records, which I think some of you are probably bands out there that he produced, right? Anyone? Goldenrod? Yeah, Mickey's there. Guys, yes. Yeah, with that label, he was able to support local San Diego punk bands. Man, did he love punk. He did, right? And even with the hardcore stuff, he was way into it more than us, but you know. Mark's career covered so many different facets of skateboarding, music, and photography. Some of the businesses he touched were Tomieto, Transworld, Woodward, Skate Camp, Soul Technology, USA Skateboarding, just to name a few. And he had most of the recent executive director to Go Skateboarding Foundation, right? Many people may not know that Mark worked in the TV industry as well. As a sound engineer for 3 years on shows such as JAG and CSI, he truly was a creative person. In our small world, everybody is basically connected to Mark by 3 degrees of separation. Don Brown said he met Mark back in 1984 at a Castle contest. Yeah, let's hear it for Castle contest. That was something. He was DJing the contest playing obscure UK punk bands. So, of course, they talked. Where is old Don? What was that shot you used to make everyone take?
The tough guy shot.
Huh? The tough guy shot. The tough guy shot. Which was, you take a drink, you squeeze a lime on your eye and sprinkle it with salt. And then snort the salt. So you never use the lime and salt other than snorting it and squirting it in your eye. Going to eat English job So throughout the years, Don said that Mark became the glue and the pillar of the core skate community. He was the one who would bring the community together to petition for local skate parks, the one that encouraged the first-time skater to drop on the ramp, the one that puts others before himself. Others before himself is probably his motto. I mean, this guy did that. He definitely did that. He was so passionate about skateboarding, he wanted everyone to share the hype. In 2001, he bought a house in Cumberland, strictly based on the size of the backyard. His goal, to build a community and a huge ramp, right? That ramp was something. In true Mark fashion, he opened up his home. And Mark's sister Laura and his nephew Taylor moved in with him and lived there for several years. Mark took Taylor under his wing and became a second father to him at such an important age in that child's life. He gathered his nephew and the neighborhood kids to help clear up the yard, dig the dirt, haul the scraps, so Jay, who came out from Ohio, could build a ramp. In the interim, he shared his love for skateboarding with all of them. Gave them goals to accomplish, he mentioned to them. Well, gave them goals to accomplish, they mentioned them, yeah. Taylor, Javi, Kelly, Pepito, Bucky, Muzzy, Doug, Dante, and the list goes on. He became a second father to all of them as well. A good portion of them traveled the country with him running the game of skate, opening their eyes to a world of adventure. I must also say, I mean, he gave Bucky a job, he gave Javi a job. Bucky now has a great job where he's filming stuff in Alaska. Javier shoots photographs for Porsche. You know, it's just amazing the foundation this guy gave to, you know, these guys, because they're all 16, 18, now they're, very good point, very good point. That's not written here. In 2000, oh wait, yeah, Game of Skate, yeah, opening game. In 2001, he also started working at Soltech. He was a team manager, he was a brand marketing guy, he was a photographer, he was an MC. Eventually, we all know he became the events manager running GVR, Goofy versus regular. But Goofy is really the superior form of yeah. And what about the Mongos? The Mongos out there. Yes. Managing GVR here at his own skate park. Yeah, I mean, this is home turf, right? For those of you who know how Mark developed this park and what it's become, he gave so much life and blood, right? It's amazing. He has stuff in the time capsule. Where's that? Oh, in the hole? What's in there? Only Don knows. It's a bunch of limes and salt. Right? No, the tequila's got it. Just empty bottles, salt and lime. He was an integral part of making Wild in the Streets, which today, these guys, if you don't know, before today, how many was there? 50, 80 skaters? I don't know. They rode from Cook's Corner to here. That's pretty far. I know it's downhill, but that's a pretty good distance. I mean, so in Mark's fashion of Go Skate Day and Go Skateboarding Day, you know, we kept that alive today as well. Etnies Holiday Festival, the Maloof Money Cup, all the success, just to name a few. I got, what, 6 more pages. Okay. Who keeps laughing? My fan there, thank you. For nearly a decade, so many of these events were accomplished with his right-hand woman, Candace Blackstone. She's not here today, but she's right here. So most of what happened today is because of her too, so thank you, Candace. Yet another person who he had an impact on. He took a girl who didn't necessarily know much about skateboarding, but loved events, and showed her what it was like to plan one from start to finish. Mark wasn't a mentor to her. He was like a big brother she never had, and introduced her to a family she never knew she needed. While music, photography, and skateboarding were always his first loves, the common thread to his life has been people, as mentioned, and his love for his family and friends. In 2005, Mark met Claudine. His whole world changed. The first date was at a backyard skate jam at the Cumberland house. She passed the test with flying colors, and 4 years later, they married on a beautiful sunny beach day, surrounded by many of you that are here today, right? That was a beautiful Santa Barbara day. In 2010, Mark and Claudine welcomed their baby boy, Avery Owen. Being father and a husband was always at Mark's core. He introduced Avery to all the things he loved, and with Avery's creative talents and art, he is already walking in his father's footsteps. That's true. This boy, he makes paintings. I go over there, I try to show him, and then he shows me. What's the deal, Avery? He's painting his dog. He's so creative, like he'll paint his dog, but he's doing this completely different pile of red heart-shaped thing over in the corner. He's like, that's what, you know, what's the dog's name? Yeah, that's what Murphy feels when I'm painting him or something. You know, it's just the stuff you can't teach kids, right? They teach us. So, Mark was truly multifaceted, special person. He always said that if you did something, you should do it right, because otherwise it wasn't worth doing. Everything that Mark did, he did with passion. So to say that Mark had an impact on skateboarding and really everything he touched would be an understatement. Hear, hear. He always fought for the best representation and was passionate and loving to his core. That's true. But it's safe to say that skateboarding is where it is today because of Mark Waters. And now I'm going to start inviting our guest speakers, but before I do want to thank so many people that helped this thing come together. Candace, of course, and the Etnies folks. Professor Paul Schmidt, wherever you're at, made some beautiful wooden urns for both Avery and the family. One of them is sitting here in laminated skateboard wood. And forgive me if I'm forgetting your name, all those that helped today. Great day. Okay, next up, I'd like to invite, please, John Roberts and Jason Triplett to say a few words.
Testing. You have to say that. Hey, this is a tough day for me. It's a tough day for all of you. But my name's John Roberts. This is Jason Triplett. We're a couple of guys that grew up with Jason. With Mark. And, yeah, grew up with him too, obviously. He came all the way in from London for this. So. Hey, cheers. Yeah. So.
Did he bring tequila? I got the lime to the salt. You guys both have tequila.
I may find that out later. Hey, you know, I had a whole bunch of shit prepared, right? I mean, I met Mark in 1980. We used to wait for the bus. We both went to Harker Academy in San Jose, which for those of you from San Jose may know, it may not. But our fathers who had, you know, they had money. They weren't rich, but they used to drop us at this bus stop. So we'd ride the bus, which fine then. Now I wouldn't do it, but you know, I got to know Mark really early and got a lot of things to say about him. I'm going to let Jason speak a little bit because I want to get my thoughts together. Like I said, I had a whole bunch of shit written down. And I studied it, and I drove here from Westlake Village, and I had everything written down. And not only did I lose it somewhere, but I also, hey, we're talking about Mark, so I'm just gonna cut from the hip and tell some old stories, and certainly not going to be as eloquent as this man right here, but gonna add on to some of the things he said. So. One thing I will say, I look around and I'm jealous. You know, I'm thinking, shit, I hope all these people show up at my. Mark, I mean, it's just so Mark to see all these people from different walks of life and different places and different, just everything show up for him. It's just, you know, look around when you get a chance. It's a good perspective up here, and it just tells everything about Mark. And shit, I'm gonna have to give it to him, otherwise I'm gonna start crying.
As John said, we were lucky enough to know Mark for most of our lives, actually. I think it was 14 or 15 years old where we met over a skate ramp on Mark's Drive. You know, just going on a quarter pipe all summer was amazing, and listening to whatever punk rock Mark could find from anywhere in the world, you know, at the end of the day. But you know, that wasn't, you know, just Mark. Actually, Mark, you know, his mom came out one time and said, I got a snack for Mark. And we said, oh, a snark, right? And, you know, he wasn't just about punk rock and everything. You know, he's deep down. He was real, genuine person, cared, and he was just a softie, really, at the end of the day, right? But he didn't just teach us about skating and music. It was amazing, even at, 15, 16 years old. I remember once I said, oh, I hate that guy, just a throwaway comment. And Mark even then said, you know what, no, don't say that, you never hate. We don't want that in this world, because that wasn't Mark's world, was a hate at all. And that's who he was. But I have to say thanks to Claudine and Avery as well. With Mark, they totally welcomed my whole family, not just me, like he would. He genuinely cared. He would take his day out to go to the beach with us. We were in Manhattan last time, like Avery crushing the waves, the boogie board. Remember that? It was amazing. And they took my daughter in for a week, just when I wasn't around, to live with them for a week in the middle of their summer. They took their time out to do that because Mark really wanted to get to know her really well. So I came in from London for Mark's event. I mean, that's, you know, the kind of guy he was. He was special, so I needed to come, needed to be here. And look, at the end of the day, I feel just proud that actually, you know, I knew Mark. He was a great friend, and he'll just, you know, always be missed and loved. Yeah? You want to do some more?
Just a couple of quick stories, and I won't bore you, and I promise I won't ramble on, even though I do most of the time. But you know, Mark was a couple of things to me, and some of I just didn't even realize when I was a kid. Mark was a mentor to me. He's 1 year older than me, but he was that guy that just, in hindsight, did everything right. I remember we found weed back in the day. This was early '80s, right? We were kids. And Mark was always there and hanging and had the same crazy sense of humor, but you know what? He was never doing any of that. He just could hang. Mark was like that guy. I was driving down here today, and I was thinking about an old Seinfeld episode where you can't mix worlds, Jerry. I don't know if you remember that thing, but Mark was always mixing worlds, man. He'd take guys from different parts of his life and it would create relations. I mean, I know a lot of people here that I wouldn't know you certainly wouldn't be talking to you still if it weren't for Mark. And I look back, Mark was the guy that I remember when I was a kid, I got into some, you know, like all of us that grew up in Northern California, you know, tried a few things. And I remember I'd sneak home at 16 and sneak in the backyard and into the back door. And I had this hard-ass father, old school Baltimore, angry man. And, you know, he'd check me when I'd come home. And I remember sneaking in the house and I was wasted on God knows what. This was 1982, statute of limitations is gone, so if there's any tape of this. So anyway, I just remember sneaking in and walking in. I saw some lights on. I'm like, shit, I need to get to my room and, you know, do some banaka or whatever. Mark's sitting at my seat at the dinner table having dinner with my fucking parents. I didn't get out of that one. Thank God he was there because he took some of the edge off and my father wasn't as pissed. I'm sorry about my foul language. I've been doing it too much. But anyway, I just... Yeah, exactly. Well, I just thought, you know, that story doesn't have a lot of relevance and connection to gosh, your eloquent speech, but it just defines Mark. I mean, he was that guy that, there was just no bullshit, right? He was the one guy that would talk to your parents because he didn't have anything to hide, right? You know, we call him Eddie Haskell because, although he wasn't, he was legit. He was just I know I was Eddie Haskell. I was high, but no, Mark, look, at the end of the day, like I said, I had a bunch of stuff prepared, and it's Mark. I'm not going to prepare anything. The last time I was with Mark, I was at a faction show in LA, and it's a band I grew up on with him, and seeing you, Steve, and we were together, and we went backstage, and we were up front, and it brought back a lot of memories, and I get to hang out with Mark a lot because I moved back east for school, and when I came back, we went to that show, and I remember I went out back and I left early and I called Mark after I left and you know, I've got all these regrets, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about Mark, and I'm always going to remember that show and just how everything comes full circle, and fuck, I miss that guy, man. And the world has a hole in it, and you know, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but I don't know in this case, man. And I'm sad as I know how everybody is, and looking forward to some alcohol later. So, hey, thanks for everybody coming. I mean, who am I? I'm just some guy that came and is sharing this with you. But hey, look, he holds a deep place in my heart. Last thing I'll say is I sent out. We're not getting any younger, you prick kid. No, hey, listen. So I sent out. I was talking to Claudine, and I know they were making a film, and I sent out a request to all these people from Mark's early life. Some of these guys that I haven't talked to. I mean, I remember their name barely, and gosh, I got like 20 or 30 people sent me just 5 to 15-second videos just praising Mark, and you know, seeing all these people and then thinking about that. I mean, it just sums up Mark. So sorry if I rambled on. I just wanted to come up here and be honest and tell you that my heart's fucking broken, and I know everybody's is, but shit, what a fitting tribute. So thanks for coming out, and wear your mask, please, when you're out in public. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Great work. Ray Stevens, if you're around, my friend, let's bring up Ray Stevens, RS2. By the way, thank you, Ray. He's your DJ today. So again, a lot of folks
San Jose guys coming down. And I guess in teacher fashion, I like to prepare people. So Nikki, you're next. Yukovic, wherever you're at, Nikki. Be prepared, my friend. Now we have, please welcome Ray Stevens, RS2.
Guys, Matt, this is Sam, Ty from Mark's wedding, by the way. Not that I remember, but he does. Anyways, well, it's great to see everybody here. It's super sad. Love Mark Waters so much, just like all of you did. And wish he was still here, but Claudine and Avery are still here, so remember to give them the love that Mark would give you. And remember to be cool to people like Mark is cool to you. Because that's really important these days. And be safe, because we didn't want to see Mark go that way. I personally was sick. I was in the hospital for about a month. I thought a couple times I was gonna die. Shit ain't no joke. You gotta be careful. You know, I gotta tell you a story. I'd known Mark from San Jose. And I knew him when he was a little dude. And then when I started playing the faction, he was like getting into photography and stuff. And he told me, hey, I want to go to your West Valley show, and a bunch of my friends are gonna come. And at the time I was going to that, it was like a junior college out there in Saratoga, kind of out in the cut, in the middle of some neighborhood, not really close to nowhere, and it was supposed to be an all-ages show. But the day of the show, the senior class or whatever you call it, changed it to like 18 and over. So there's all these kids that got dropped off by their parents and are so chapped now because they're like stuck out there and they can't get in the show. And so Mark came up to me with his buddies and they're practically crying. And they're like, dude, we can't go to your show, we bought tickets, they won't let us in. I'm like, I lead us around back. So I went around backstage and I opened the door and then they followed me. And then we walked through backstage and we walked over the stage and into the crowd and all the dudes were in. And after that, we were like seriously super good friends, like since that day. And for real, you know, like, he always remembered that, and I always remembered it too. And he, you know, I'm a DJ, I'm a musician, and you know, all the different bands I played in, all had gigs here for the different contests and after parties and everything. And I DJ'd his wedding, I played acoustic with him at his wedding, and at that faction show in LA. Was I guess pretty much the last time I saw Mark. No, he was in San Jose too. But yeah, he just was always there. And then we had the faction we're going to record like our greatest hits in LA about a month after our last show. And my van couldn't handle it, the Grapevine. Like I had to make a U-turn and go back to San Jose. But I called Mark because I wanted him to come take pictures. Because he loved the faction and he just wanted to be there. Even though the guy in the studio wouldn't even let him in because this when the pandemic first started. So he would have just been able to take a picture of the door or whatever. But he wanted to go. So I called him like, hey dude, don't come down to that studio because I'm not gonna be there. And like before I could even finish talking, he gave me 3 different options. Like, do you need money? Do you want me to rent your van? Do you want me to come pick you up? Like I swear, he was like that. And I'm like, dude, I think we're just gonna go home, man. But that was Mark Waters, and you know that. You know, the guy was super rad. So, I don't know, just try to be more like Mark, man, because he was, you know how great he was, and that's why we're here. And I'm just representing NorCal, and just to let you know, we all love Mark so much, and we all miss him. All right, thank you.
All right. Next up, please welcome our good friend Nikki Vukovic, photographer, artist, skateboarder, etc.
It's awesome to see everybody. Never thought I'd actually miss ASR. Or that I'd need these. I wrote some stuff down, so my comments today will be finite. Promise you that. Mark was my friend, which made sense given how much we had in common. We're both from San Jose. We both discovered skateboarding for ourselves at about the same time. We're both photographers for Transworld Skateboarding. We both moved to San Diego in the 80s. We were both part of the Del Mar skate rant scene. We both loved punk rock music. We both played in punk rock bands, never in the same one, however. We both worked at Tumiato in the mid-90s. He served at USA Skateboarding, I currently do. We shared friends and hung out at the same places. Our lives revolved around the same center, which was skateboarding. And in that, we shared an understanding that we were part of something special. He did his work, I did mine, you all did yours, and together it added up. In recent years, I'd see Mark far too seldom, but like many of you, I saw the effect he had. From his work in the skate music scenes, to the events and global skate movements he fostered with Soul Technology. It inspired us, and we did our best to contribute right back. Because that's how skateboarding works, and Mark understood that better than anyone. It's not about you, it's about what you do. Mark's accomplishments and contributions are too many to list, the causes he championed, the people he inspired. But as an anecdote, his work at USA Skateboarding helped usher skateboarding onto the world's stage. And Mark helped our national athletes deal with the transition from domestic contests to the world of the Olympic Games. At international qualifying events, he'd run up to the podium and drape an American flag around any US athlete who medaled. He had a cache of flags and made sure the skaters had one when they needed it, but were too distracted by the thrill of victory to remember. Mark understood the symbolism. He understood what it means for skateboarding to be on the world stage like that. He knew how far it had come, how far we've all come, because he lived it, and he lifted it. This summer, 2 American athletes stood on the podium at the Tokyo Olympics. They were draped in Mark's flag. At USA Skateboarding, that's what we call the flag around the shoulders of our national team skaters in honor of Mark. The 2.5 billion TV viewers didn't know what it was or who inspired it, but we do. And the point of it is that it was there, that it was done. Mark did that. Mark did a lot of things. Those of us in skateboarding see the artifacts of his life every day, even if we don't recognize them as his, which is the point. Mark did what needed to be done for his friends, for his family, for his community, not for glory or awards or compensation, but to see that it was done and to do his part, and that's his silent legacy. A legacy of service and commitment and diligence. If you live in skateboarding, you feel Mark's imprint every day. His innovations in team managing, marketing, retail promotions, touring, event planning, contest organizing, etc., have been absorbed into the skate zeitgeist. Mark never cut corners and always accommodated everyone he could, down to the last kid to leave the skate park on Good Skateboarding Day. In fact, especially last kid to leave the skate park on Good Skateboarding Day. Mark's a hard act to follow. Impossible, really. But if we are to honor his life and his legacy, then we must strive to meet his example, live deliberately and with purpose and with love and dedication to the people and the things we love. This, I now understand, was the meaning of our friendship. The example that he set for me, an example that he set for us all. To appreciate what we have, to strive to do more, and to give. That's Mark's gift to me, and his gift to everyone who recognizes in themselves that part of them that he inspired.
Next up, I'd like to invite, please, Justin Deegan, and then Browntown, you better get ready. You're after him. So, queuing you all up, man. Please welcome Justin Deegan.
Thank you. I want to thank Claudine and Laura and everyone that pitched in for bringing us together today to celebrate Mark at the Skatepark of Great Wars. I want to thank you for asking me to speak, giving me this tremendous honor. I didn't know Mark as a husband, as Claudine. Or as an adoring father, as he was to Avery. I didn't know Mark as the little brother, as he was to Laura and her siblings, or as the loyal uncle he was to Taylor. I knew Mark first as a fan, and then a friend. As a video maker. And I also knew Mark as a mentor. I knew Mark as a coworker too, and for 10 years I was fortunate to see Mark every day, working together side by side right here, and working with Mark to share our love for skateboarding was a gift. Thank you, Don and Pierre, for that gift. Looking around today, I can't help but think of the following quote from the great Jackie Robinson. What Jackie said, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. No truer words have ever been said about anyone than Mark Waters, and you can see it here today. When I heard the news of Mark's passing back in January, I wrote down some thoughts on the impact that Mark had on my life, and I'd like to read them now. So I apologize to readers who heard this already. Feeling devastated to learn that our dear friend Mark Waters lost his battle with COVID-19 today. Mark has been someone that I've looked up to and emulated for most of my life. I was barely a teenager when I first met Mark. He was sponsored by our mutual friend Bob Schmelzer's Circle A Skateboards. I worshiped him for that. He worked on the California Amateur Skateboard League contest circuit that every one of us kids used to compete in back then. I looked up to him for that. And even then, Mark was always working, always contributing. The epitome of DIY ethics. If Mark saw something broken, he'd fix it. If he saw something missing, he'd make it. He made zines. He made iconic photography. He made music. He made a record label to make other people's music. I looked up to Mark for all these things, but that's not all. I looked up to Mark professionally and as a passionate and empathetic human, outspoken and always active in his support for the underdog. I think back to a certain photo that Ed Templeton took of Mark, shirtless, dripping with sweat, in a skate park parking lot, leaning up against a wall to catch his breath, exhausted, while working on one of America's Wildest Streets events that he virtually single-handedly produced himself. What you don't see in that photo is that Mark had just puked. Because it was 100 degrees in the shade that humid summer day in Chicago, and he had led over 1,000 skaters on a 7-mile skate through the town to raise awareness for their community. No attendees saw that side of Mark that day. The guy almost overcome with exhaustion. They only saw the guy with the bullhorn, handing out water, making sure everyone was safe and having a good time. That was Mark, selfless, not selfish. He helped so many people in so many ways. I also looked up to Mark as a loving husband. He set an example for me.
On their wedding day, Mark serenaded Claudine with an original song. And I remember taking inspiration from his vulnerability and fearlessness in that act, boldly expressing his love. And yes, it was a pop punk song. And when Avery was born, Mark showed us all the example of what a proud and adoring father looks like. It's obvious that no father has ever loved a son more than Mark loved Avery. And of course, I looked up to him for that too. Mark was an absolute force, and I know his legacy will live on in all the ways he contributed, the things he made, and all the people he inspired. His band was fucking called Contribution. All of us here, and those who couldn't be here today, as well as the countless other lives indirectly impacted by Mark who may never even know. I hate that this virus has robbed us of all that Mark still had to contribute. Please, everyone, let's be safe. Let's look out for one another and treat each other with love and with kindness. It's on us to continue Mark's impact in the world by continually asking of ourselves, what's your contribution going to be today? Thank you.
Outstanding, heartfelt, pure thoughts there. Thank you, Justin. Okay, now these guys, we talked about them. Browntown. So Browntown is a racist part of Orange County. Now, when Mark was like, oh no, we'll go over there, let's go to Browntown. I'm like, dude, who do you call Browntown? Like, what's up here? He said, no, that's what they call themselves. Anyway, these beautiful human beings grew up in incredible situations, and Mark helped them get through life. Please welcome Browntown, and stay who you are. Bucky, where the hell's Bucky? Bucky, get up here. All you all, get in here. Say who you are, too. They all think you're the gardener. Henry, get up here. You're Hawaiian Brown. How many are goofy? Right here. Don't matter. I'm sorry. I'll be way. You got this, buddy.
Hey, you're the one that started Browntown, bro.
Come on, man, your bass playing sucks. At least
You had one Browntown, you had one Brown member, and next thing you know, you have 10 in the back. More than 10, fool.
First of all, thank everybody for coming. Mark literally changed my entire life. Specifically, everybody up top here. I don't even know where I would be if it wasn't for him. We didn't grow up in the best part of town in Orange. Surrounded by a lot of illegal activity, I guess. And I was in high school going to continuation school, and I met a kid that lived in Mark's neighborhood. And I guess he saw my skateboarding, and for some reason he was like, oh man, this kid's pretty good. I guess, you know. But he took me around all of Orange, Skatepark University, Orange High School, all the spots that we grew up skating. And pretty much put me through hell just to see if I was worthy to meet Mark. I'm wearing hand-me-downs, fucked up clothes. This kid's head to toe, America, everything. Foundation, skateboard, the whole 9 yards. So you can only imagine as a kid, you're like, holy shit, who the hell is this kid? You know? And skateboarding the whole day. I skated the whole fucking day that day. I'm sorry. But at the end of that day, to being completely battered, he didn't skate obviously too. He just watching me skate, again, because he wanted to see if I was worthy. And he finally tells me, he's like, so what are you gonna do after this? I'm like, I'm gonna go home, I'm fucking tired. Skating all day, I killed myself. He's like, well, I'm gonna go to my friend's house if you wanna come. I was like, well, you know we're at Chapman University right now, right? We have to skate all the way to the Wall of Orange. It's like at least like 5 miles. And I'm like, oh, you got it. I was like, all right, let's do it. I ended up going to his house first. Manny. Yeah. Manny. Go to Manny's house. At this point in my life, I've never been inside a big house. I live in a one-bedroom apartment with my parents, you know? Like, they get it because that's how we grew up. 6 people in a one-bedroom apartment. That's how it was. So I walk into the house right away in shock. I was like, holy shit, you have your own room? Like, really? Are you serious right now? He's like, yeah, you don't have one? I was like, hell no, I don't. What the fuck? I don't have a room. Going around the whole, getting a tour. And going to the pantry, just to see what he had. Just the whole, you know, well, it was like a sitcom to me because I've never seen that before, so it was crazy. And get some water, and then he's like, you want to go to Mark's house? I was like, all right, let's go. Let's go to Mark's house. Ended up going over there, skating. It was down the street from Mark's house. We get to in front of his driveway. He had a flat bar set up already. Taylor was there, wearing a helmet.
Where's Taylor?
Wearing a helmet. And I felt completely out of place. Immediately. I'm the only brown kid there. Like literally the only brown kid in sight. The only one. Get my skateboard. I don't even skate at this point. I just put my skateboard against the garage and just sit there and watch them skate because I felt like this. I didn't feel confident enough to be skating in that way. And then Manny skating, Taylor skating. Taylor was actually one of the first ones to say hi to me. He was the first one. And Mark comes. I remember he's pulling up with his blue ball. Comes up. And I stood up right away. I was ready. I was like, some elders here. Let me go say hi to him. Run up to him. I was like, hi, my name's Bobby. Nice to meet you. Hello, Mr. Waters. Blah, blah. Really formal, because again, that's how I was raised. And Mark just looked at me with a big stare. He's like, who the hell are you? I'm Manny's friend. I was like, don't call me that. I was like, call you what? I was like, Mr. Waters, that's not my name. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And then he just walks away. That was my first day of the month. Super serious. Like, you didn't know me. I was like, I didn't take it hard. I was like, okay, whatever. Prior to that, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I wonder if this guy's gonna like me, you know? I don't know. But anyway, fast forward a couple weeks later, I still didn't come over as frequently as I did when eventually he went back to me. And at this point, I still didn't know who he was. I had no clue who he was. I don't know what he did. I didn't know if he was a skateboarder. I didn't know if he played music. I didn't know anything about him. He finally saw me skateboard, and he he sat down and he was like, oh shit, this did pretty good. Okay. And then he actually asked my name too again. He was like, what's your name again? I was like, oh, he's Hoggy. I was like, oh, okay. Now he started talking to me, acknowledged me now. And at this point, I was just happy that he was talking to me because it was kind of awkward going to his house and not talking to him. Like Taylor and Nanny and everybody else, Kelly. And the time came when he finally gained trust and he opened the garage. He opened the garage. The moment I saw that garage, my God. It literally was like, was just like skateboards stocked up to the top, brick tape, wheels, trucks, shoes. As far as the eye could see, you would have hated it. Yeah, you would have hated it. No mames, nigga. Like, holy shit. At this point, I was just like, what the hell does this guy do? He's white, so he ain't breaking laws, that's for sure, you know? He was illegal, so I was like, okay, what's going on? And I was like, hey, what do you do? He's like, oh, I work for Soltec. I didn't know what Soltec was. I was like, what shoes are you wearing right now? At that point, I think I was wearing some Converse or something. Like right now. And then, remember he asked me, he said, what size are you? I was like, oh, I'm 11 and a half. Oh, perfect. He takes his shoes off and he gives me the shoes that he was wearing. He gave them to me. And when I think about that, like, he doesn't know me. He gave me his shoes from his, that he was wearing. Like, he didn't have to do that. They're like, completely, like, I've never met anybody like that. Never. In my entire life. It's always like, hey, take. But this guy just gave you things. Just for no reason. Just because he wanted to help you. At that moment, I knew that, like, I was going to be okay. This is a real friend. This is what a friend does. And one by one, I started bringing somebody from where I was from. My first friend that I brought was in was Pedro. We called him Pete because of a Christian state. And he came first. After that, I ended up bringing my brother, Blinka. And then eventually, he started bringing people himself. And then eventually, those people started bringing people to themselves. And it just ended up being this. He opened the door for a lot of us. He gave us so many opportunities because he knew what we were worth, and we thought we weren't worth enough because of where we came from. He literally helped me through some of the roughest times of my life. I had depression when I was in high school. The only person that knew at the time was him. And this is during the time that's when my mom passed away. And I've never seen Mark ever lose his cool until my mom passed away. And I really felt for him because I loved my mom, and I just couldn't see him feel that pain, and I didn't know how to react to it. I'm a kid. And at that point too, going through my stuff, he still took the time to ask me if I was okay. I spent so many hours with him in that kitchen talking to him. He was always the one that would listen to me. Always gave me the courage to keep going. I don't even know how he did that when he was going through that. Like, that moment too, I don't know how this man can just do it. I don't know how he's so strong. I don't know how he can just put on even more things that he has already on top of what he has. And when he passed away, I couldn't even talk. I believe broke down. I know I shouldn't feel regret because I feel like I just didn't spend enough, even more time with him even after we went our separate ways because of life. But I felt so much guilt. I texted him every once in a while just to check up on him. He hated all that mushy stuff. He hated that stuff. He didn't like that stuff. Yeah. This is the first year that I don't get a text from him like that. But that broke my heart. But I'm still trying to process him not being here anymore. He was just everything to me. A mentor, a friend, a father, all combined in one. And I know he knows that how much I cared about him. I always made sure that he knew. I always thanked him during Christmas time, even though he would just reply back, hey, or be a good kid. Don't be a stranger kid. Give him a whole paragraph and that's how we talk to him. Because he doesn't like the mushy stuff, like I said. He doesn't like that. He need a little punch in the arm on our way. But yeah. There's too many stories I can go on with, Mark, but I'm gonna let somebody else talk. Let's do it. Oh, this is a mom. I was gonna say a mom first.
Where's Kelly at?
Yeah, we decided to make, because Mark wasn't a materialistic person at all. So what really mattered to him was these type of memories right here. He really liked pictures. He really liked telling stories and just hanging around with everyone and just making sure that everybody felt loved.
Where's that?
We're here. Oh, we were giving him a hard time, I think.
Hey, who's to play this game?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Bucky. I was one of the few lucky ones to be able to spend time. These guys brought me around a little later, but I wrote a few words. I'll keep it short and sweet because Mark was always about keeping the show moving. I first met Mark when I was in high school as a lost teenager with little to no direction. The day I first met him, I was honestly intimidated by the guy. He had achieved and had a hand in so many projects that I grew up idolizing from an early age. He carried himself with a true righteous DIY punk attitude that I'd never been in the presence of. Our love for all things music and skateboarding quickly brought us together. Like most of us at that age, we would get into trouble, grades would drop, or just screw off. Mark was always there to help us keep us in line with older brother-like advice, a punch, accompanied by his unmistakable cackle. And yet he never showed any ego while telling us we were blowing it. We always knew he just wanted what was best for us right from the get-go and just wanted us to avoid the same mistakes he'd made. He was the guy we hit up for almost anything and everything. He got me my first job, sold me my first car. First time out of state was with him in a van and friends experiencing Bourbon Street for the first time. After my first skateboarding arrest, his house was the first stop after being released from the police station with my full bars. So many firsts with them solely because of him. There was truly little, nothing he wouldn't help you do at the drop of a hat. He opened the door to some of the most surreal opportunities that my adolescent brain could barely wrap its head around. My life wouldn't be the same without him in it. Looking back, it still seems unbelievable. Mark's lust for life was unmatched. Everything the man did exuded an immense passion. No matter if it was a punk show for 10 kids or 15,000 skateboarders roaring down the heart of Mexico City. Whether it was a long drive in the middle of absolutely nowhere to stringing guitar for the third time in the night, the man could get you stoked on the most minuscule things, an energy that most people couldn't achieve even in their dreams. There was this feeling when you made Mark laugh, like, damn, here's this larger-than-life human, and we're on the same wavelength cracking jokes. Mark wanted to get to know you like a true friend, always intently listening no matter how trivial the subject at hand was. And yet, we always walked away having learned something that we'll forever carry with us. He made you feel accepted and welcome regardless of your backstory. His knowledge surpassed anything that I had ever come across, whether it was music, film, art, travel. The guy always had something special and genuine to add to the conversation. He had enough stories to fill books on end. There was always something new we'd find out way down the line. We'd sort down through old photos, and he'd pull out a Polaroid of a selfie that he had with surrogate Jessica Parker giving him a hug, and he nonchalantly disclosed that he had worked in TV and was on set with her for a period of time. Endless conversations, the next one better than the last. It still doesn't make sense. It's as if he had lived 100 lifetimes. He was one of us, a skateboarder, a musician, and a friend. All I can hope is that I can carry just a fraction of what he taught us here with this little time. While I sit here reading this in disbelief, I know it's only goodbye for now, and I know we still got a lot of mileage to cover on the other side. Love you, buddy.
Hello, everybody. So, after Javi had met Mark, and some time went by, and he brought me along to, I was always the youngest one. I'm only like 3 years younger than him, but I was always the youngest one. Mark took us on a trip when I was only 10 years old. We went to Oregon, okay? We went to Oregon, I was 10 years old. We went for some time, and we would take sleeping bags and we would sleep at the skate parks. And it's honestly amazing to me to think and reflect now, like what I experienced with Mark, and who he was and what he did. I'm a father now, and to think that at that time when I was so young, he had an open house with a skate park, and we were at his house like every day, like literally every day. And even when it became nighttime, or if we were skating there, he'd be like, okay, you guys can skate for another hour, but you are gonna have to skate home, right? An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours would pass, and he would still take us home in his van. And it's honestly unfathomable to me, like thinking back now as a dad, like everything that he did for us, and he didn't do it, for, anything. He did it because he did it out of love, and we, like in my case, a lot of us, I got to go to 40 states 4 times. And Hawaii, when I was like 14, 15, 16, 17, like that is amazing. Like, now that I'm working and I'm a father, like I can take one vacation for a week, if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? Yeah, and we got the penthouse in Hawaii. Like, honestly, like I don't take anything for granted. I honestly don't think Mark's gone because he is literally carrying in each and every one of us. The decisions that come to us from life, we have a guidance, we have a help to what to pick, what to decide, because of what he has shown us what is possible, what's possible for a human being to be like, and I learned that when I was, when I was young, I learned it, right? But as an adult, I'm just mind blown out of everything that he did for us. Honestly, and now, now when I'm an occupational therapist, I help people every day, and I think that part of that reason is because of what I was shown, what's possible. Normally people grow up with their environment and what's around, and he really just elevated what it is to be a human, what it is to be a father, what it is to be a friend, and all it took was just something as simple as skateboarding to connect us. And after that, that was it. We've done so much. And I carry that with me. I forever will. Every patient that I have, I show them what it is to be ideal, to be that ideal person, that ideal self that I learned from him, Through COVID, I worked at the hospital, and I saw it, I went through it, and I was there, and I was helping because I know that I learned that from Mark, to just be something that's outside of yourself, and something that you don't think about, something you don't ask for anything, you just do it. And I feel that I've learned that, and we've all taken something from that, and I'm very, 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 very thankful to have known him and been a part of, well, look at what he created. It's amazing. So, who wants to blink up?
So, I wanted to talk about the first time I met Mark. It was actually here. We were here, and I didn't really talk to him much. I was just kind of skating around. And then we were leaving. He's like, "Hey, you want to ride home?" So he gives me a ride home, and I'll never forget this. And I've told him so many times, and he's like, "That's such bullshit. I didn't say that." So we're driving in the car, and I'm sitting in the back seat. Bucky was in the front. And he's like, "Did you eat tacos? Like, you ate, right? And you had fun, you skated?" I was like, "Yeah, I ate." Like, man, my stomach's like all warm. I ate a bunch of tacos. And he's like, and he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, "Stop sucking dick." And I was like, "What the hell?" And then he smiled at me, like he gave me that smile. And I'll never forget that. And then he just turned around and he kept driving. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, I thought this guy was legit, I'll never forget that. And we would always argue, like we would always argue, like just in random places. Like we'd be like, I don't know, like in Texas or something, and we'd be like, he told me like we were driving or something, and he's like, "Yeah, like we were talking about selling cigarettes for some reason." I was like, "I'd sell them," and he's like, "I wouldn't." And I was like, "Dude, they'll pay you a bunch of money, blah blah blah." He's like, "Dude, I don't care about money, like screw that." Like he taught me to stick by my morals, and like respect what you put on your body, and like just to do what you want to do to the fullest, and just he taught me to just do things that were admirable and that you wanted to do. But yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Oscar. Everyone knows me as Blinka. And just want to
really thankful that I got to meet Mark. And I don't know where I would be without him as well, because I mean, he taught me a lot. He taught me to get over my fears. I mean, he was always there for me, like, because everyone would always kind of like be like, oh, this guy's always scared of everything. Like, he would always like kind of be like the one to push me to be like, nah, stop. They're gonna make fun of you. Don't do this. I'm like, all right, well, I guess. And now somehow Mark would always convince me to do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it, but somehow it was always my like boost of confidence. He was like, don't worry, if they make fun of you, I'm gonna go tell them something. I'm like, all right. He was always there for me, you know. So I mean, like, to me, I always consider him like a second father as well too, because he always pushes us for everything. He taught us how to be respectful, and I mean, he was such a good guy. I mean, anything we needed, he was always there for us. No matter what, like, he taught us how to be a better person. And everyone he met, he touched everyone. You know, everyone had a big impact on Mark, and I just appreciated that he took his time to actually get to know us, and like, I mean, just like to get to hang out with him was a blessing. Like, it was really cool. Like, I love Mark, and I hope. I just can't think of it. Like, I don't know, every time
I mean, clearly you can see the impact Mark made on their lives, and all of ours. Next, I'd like to invite, please, Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick. Come on up and say a few words, Jim. And then Taylor, be ready, you're next. Where's Taylor?
I tried, Don.
Oh, she's there. The observatory, we're going to get some love from there. Here you go, Jim.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Claudine, for including me. And thanks also to all of you who helped put this celebration together. 12 years ago, in my role as Reverend Jim, as the celebrant of their marriage, I said to Mark and Claudine, that the force of their commitment to each other, that their love, their courage, reached out and touched all of us. And I proposed to all those gathered there on the beach in Carpinteria that in the ceremony, that Mark and Claudine's courage and love affected all of our lives. And for that, we all shared a part of their love. And 12 years later, obviously, we still do. We, those of us gathered there, and now those of us gathered here, share in that love. During the ceremony, Lance read from Corinthians. He spoke aloud. He said, "Love delights in truth. It's always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, and to endure whatever comes. Love does not come to an end. Love endures whatever comes. Love does not come to an end." I can attest to that from my own life. I was 20 years old in 1968. My dad was 44 when he died suddenly, shockingly. I had said to him that December evening, "Okay, I'll see you in the morning." And a few hours later, I got the call from a Hollywood hospital's emergency room, myocardial infarction. In the weeks that followed, I began to realize that I was afraid. I was afraid that I would forget my father, that I wouldn't remember him. But as Lance read aloud, love endures. Now, more than a half a century later, there's never been a day I haven't remembered my father, haven't thought of him or wondered how he might consider something I was doing. In fact, he's with me today, here and now. By mentioning him, love does not come to an end. Many of us gathered here today have Mark's stories, and they've been wonderful to hear. We love Mark today because love does not come to an end. My own Mark story begins with skateboarding more than 30 years ago. But before that, my own story with skateboarding began 30 years before that, before I ever met Mark. I made my first steel-wheeled board in 1957. That was 64 years ago. That's funny. I have no idea how I got so old. In all of that time before I met Mark and afterwards, I can't remember a time when I wasn't a skateboarder. My entire life I've loved skateboarding. Many of you here today with all of us, with all of our shared experiences and the places we've all traveled and the people we've all met and have come to know are connected with our collective love for Mark. In 2019, I'm going to tell you I don't like this B. Love endures, but this guy's driving me nuts. In 2019, I walked up to Mark at the Thrasher House in Austin, Texas, during South by Southwest. He burst out laughing. It was the juxtaposition of so many overarching elements. It was funny. We enjoyed laughing together. And this is the deal, Avery. On that day in Texas, when I met up with Mark, all he wanted to talk about was you. Well, you and your mom. Because Mark loved your mom, and he loved you. During that ceremony, when I married them on the beach, they leaned in toward each other. They had a moment in front of the hundreds of people gathered to celebrate their day. Claudine and Mark searched deep into each other's eyes, and I thought, this is a little awkward. We better get back to the ceremony. Here's the thing, Avery. The thing is you. At the Thrasher House that afternoon in Texas, Mark and I had all of these things to talk about. the IAS timeline, USA skateboarding, the Hall of Fame, all of these issues and all of these things that needed attention. But Mark leaned in. He lowered his voice. He was in charge of everything that was happening that day at the Thrasher House. The skateboarding, the performers, the band schedule, the social media. And there he and I sat at a table. And he leaned in across the table and he said, "Vince, I love being Avery's dad." And I laughed because I recognized the feeling, the sensation, the impact of fathering. As a father and as a grandfather, I reaffirmed the importance of his love for you, Avery, and for your mom. I leaned toward Mark and I said, "It's the greatest thing in the world, isn't it?" And later that day, I invited Mark and Ray Barbie and Chuck Treese to breakfast the next day. We were going to meet at No Sé, which in Spanish means, I don't know. It's this food restaurant in Austin. Chuck slept in. Ray grabbed an Uber, and we were standing outside the restaurant when Mark arrived. He'd rented through some app an electric bicycle, and he pulled up laughing. Three dads, skateboarders, musicians, friends. And while eating, we laughed and laughed. We laughed about skateboarding and all that it's provided us. I especially laughed at the memory of Ray taking off in a go-kart, left the course and went through the fields of Virginia, his head bopping up and down to get out of the weeds. Thibaut was laughing so hard he almost peed his pants. So being dads, Ray and Mark and I talked about being dads at that breakfast together in Austin, Texas. And the clincher for me was when we got ready to leave. I offered to drive Mark and Ray back to their hotels. Ray said he was good. He appreciated it. We walked outside the restaurant, and Mark said, "Nah, I'm going to take my bicycle. Have you seen this basket?" He sat in the saddle, flopped the basket around, looked over his shoulder and said, "See ya." So Avery, Claudine, for all of us here today, and those of us that would have been with us if they could, our love for Mark will endure because love does not come to an end. Thank you.
I made a mistake. Before Taylor, I'm going to invite the elusive tough guy shot himself. For everything Don Brown has done with this Skatepark and company and Mark, please invite Don Brown up to say a few words.
Chicago. You actually like checked a lot of the boxes I was going to talk about, so you completely screwed me up. Obviously, you can Google and get Wikipedia and like Don Brown's whole perspective on the amazing Mark Walters, so thank you very much. But wow, it's amazing. Like Mark has just made such an impact on everyone around the world, and seeing the Browntown up here earlier, it was just something that was just like it's so touching to me because I've seen how much Mark has just given back over the years. Like ever since I've been here. So going back to the castle days when I met Mark at first, the only reason that we really connected at the beginning is because like Mark was doing the music for a California Amateur Skateboard League contest, and I was helping to judge and just volunteering as we did back then because skateboarding was a lot smaller than it is today. And usually you got this Duran Duran or Depeche Mode bullshit, right, playing in the background. And suddenly I started hearing like the Clash and the Ruts and like Exploited. I'm like, hold on a minute, there's something different going on right now and I like it. And it just happens that it's Mark Walters as the DJ, the music man, right? And that's where we really connected because like he played the band with the Ruts, which no one even probably here even knows who the Ruts are. But I connected with him because of that. And I'll never forget that moment when we first met. And of course, I just want to remind you guys that yes, he was wearing a pair of cargo shorts. He was wearing cargo shorts. In fact, someone needs to make a cargo short company called Walters because I think he wore them for the 35 years that I knew him. The same pair. Same pair. It's crazy. And why are we talking about that? You talked about the time capsule right there in the middle.
Yeah.
So we all got here from Soltech. We got all these, invited all these people, and Mark was he made this skate park happen. Like he's not someone that just he like worked every second of the day for years with Pierre Andre, owner of Etnies and S in America and Soltech. And he made sure that this park had a perfect flow, and he just made sure. Mark, as you guys know, Mark is not someone that deals with anyone's bullshit. It's like, this is the skateboarding to you guys, or whatever it is, and he would stand up for what's right, and that's why this skate park is such an amazing skate park. But in that time capsule right there, all I know is I know my underwear are in there, and I think that Mark's bra is in there. I think it's a 38 double D. Just kidding. Just kidding. No. And it's got camo shorts. And a spreadsheet with my budget, which was really good back then. Not as good as it is today. But anyway, but Mark is just someone that everyone's checked the boxes with Justin Regan and the Tripp family and like all these people like Mickey and like everyone's like, I'm like, damn, you just took everything I was gonna say. Like, what the hell? Like,
But you've got the cool accent.
yeah, that's right? Like, I sound Australian, but I'm really English, that kind of accent. But Mark is just such an amazing, genuine person, and that's the thing for me that I've truly learned from him. It's just like, he was always just so real, and 100%, he was core, acoustic, and just straight to the point. Like, I hated arguing with him because he would always win. Like, we had the GVR contest was there, the goofy versus regular, right? The stance, and as we know, as you said, like the goofy versus the supreme stance of the universe. Christian's not laughing. But it's kind of weird that it just happens that the regular first accidentally won because Mark was the guy that was overseeing the regular furs and I was overseeing the goofy furs. So a funny story about this is, so I'm sitting in my office one day and I'm like, it smells like fish. You know this story, Laura? Yeah, I was like, it smells like fish. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like, this is disgusting. I find out that Mark had hid fish all around my office. And he told me, and I'm like, I got so much shit going on. I don't have time to be looking for fish right now. And I suck at fishing anyway, so whatever. So I'm like looking at, find one in the drawer. Okay, whatever. And they're big fish too. They're like, I'm like probably salmon or halibut. I don't even know, but found one in the drawer, one in the filing cabinet. Pierre Andre gave me a cookie jar for Christmas once, and one was in there. It was like, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I found these fish. Thank God. Like, everything's going to be going away. And the fish kept smelling for a while. And then I finally found out There was 5 fish, and you only got 4 fish. You bastard. Bastard. So it took me another probably 3 months to find this other fish that was actually up in he put it up in the ceiling in those little stupid foam things up in the top. And I think I got some tips from some insiders. So, but that's the kind of guy I was. And there was one other thing I just want to bring up because it's just really, something that was really just encapsulated Mark to me was, so I don't know, I think it was Justin Regan that mentioned the Wild in the Streets in Chicago. So the Wild in the Streets was an event that we did with the America brand, and it just brought skateboarders together on Go Skateboarding Day around the world. And it was thousands. There was events in Brazil and Mexico. There was 25,000 people were skating through the streets. And this is what Mark lives for. It's just that anarchy, that pureness, that rawness of fuck the system, we're doing this. But he would be in control of all this stuff all the way. And the Chicago incident that Justin had mentioned, there was a picture, so we had a photo show with Ed Templeton, who took this picture of Mark that was just kind of a picture that I was like, that's not the Mark that I want to see or remember. It was this picture that he was just deflated. And he was just on the ground, he had just thrown up, it was heat stroke, it was just stress, it was just but he'd been responsible for these 1,000 skateboarders that had been charging through Chicago. And this is kind of a sad one for me because it was someone wanted to give me that picture, but that's not the picture that I wanted to remember Mark as. As far as a picture that I was no, I want a picture of Mark that's happy and just energy and just and then, as we go forward, Mark passed away and Ed Templeton posted that picture and he talked about that picture. And then I realized that picture encapsulated everything that Mark was about. He was 110% committed and making sure that everyone was taken care of. So every one of those 1,000 skateboarders, every one of the hundreds of thousands of skateboarders around the world, he felt the responsibility on his shoulders to make sure that they had the best times in their life. And I think that's where, to me, let's give it up for Mark, because he's I've never met anyone like Mark, and he's an inspiration, and he's someone that I've always looked up to, want to be the photographer, the writer, he did zines, he brought bands together, because you're way too fucking cool, I don't even know how you do this, I want to be you one day, and and it's been crazy, because I've known him for over 35 years, and just to be there, so close to him, from a friend to working with him every day, it's just I miss that guy, I love that guy. And as we talk about this, it's the one thing that Mark was really good at is bringing people together. So I think we'd be really proud of everyone today being here together. Skateboarding that I've learned through my life is just something that we're all one big family. We're one big community. And Claudine, Laura, Taylor, Avery, you know that we're here for you. We're part of your family. We're here for you every day. If there's anything any of us can do for you, we're here for you, 110%. So. Yeah. Let us know anytime. But again, I love you, Mark, and I love all you guys, and just let's live it up for Mark and just make every day matter. Throw the phones in the trash and just look each other in the eyes and say, I love you, Let's do this. Thank you.
Excellent, John. No one else could have told those stories, so, we talked it. Finally, thank you for being so patient. Taylor, if you could come up and say a few words. Mark worked at the observatory for years. A lot of people don't know that, and I'm sure he made a huge impact on that. So please let us hear from that perspective.
This was Mark's favorite thing in the world. Absolutely. Took power over it. Kind of just speaking on behalf of all of us, really, because he was an absolute character to work with, and somebody that really brought, like everybody's mentioned before, absolute passion into everything he did. from all of us building festivals together. Every little detail Mark was involved in. And my favorite thing, personally my favorite story with him, is when he first became my manager at the observatory. I worked in the box office and I answered phones a lot during the day. And a customer called, and I don't recall like what the information was about, but he got really upset with me, and he ended up calling me a bitch twice on the phone, and he asked for my manager. And I said, okay, I can't connect the lines directly, so I have to take a message and pass it to him personally. And he was like, all right, fine. And then I thought, you enjoy talking to me, you're gonna really enjoy talking to Mark. So I took the message, I told Mark what happened, and he's known for keeping everybody on speakerphone at all times. And Scott especially got to enjoy that, working with him at the same desk. So I passed along the message, went back to work. Scott texted me, I still have the screenshots. Scott texted me a few hours later and was like, well, Mark called that guy a pussy. And I was like, all right, what happened? And I guess the guy tried to say he didn't call me a bitch, only that I acted like one. And Mark came back with, I'm not calling you one, but you're acting like a pussy. It's truly my favorite story because it embodies Mark completely, because if he ever considered you a friend, he always had your back. Like, no matter what, even if you were in the slightest of the wrong, he still defended you and had your back and would do absolutely anything for you. He did absolutely everything for us, working together as a team, going through absolute chaos with festivals and concerts and just all the trials and tribulations of the observatory. We've had a lot of fun, and he absolutely lit up that place. He loved using this, especially to tell people to stop running, and that they would hurt themselves. Yeah, I miss him a lot. He was somebody that like shared so much that he was into, like everybody's mentioned, and encouraged everybody to do what they wanted. When I told him I was signing up to do beauty school and be a cosmetologist, he like rooted for me, checked in with me daily to see how school was going, and to make sure I was passing and not fucking around. And no matter how many shows I was going to, I still went to school, and he was really proud of me when I graduated. And I just remember him being so encouraging, and that means the absolute world to me.
Okay, folks. Thank you. I know it's been long, but those are some great stories. We're leaving the best for last. Yeah, round of applause. Lots of love for that. We're leaving the best for last. So, Mr. Avery, if you are there, please come on up. Oh, there he is, my man. I would like to remind you all, too, afterwards, the band Contribution will play some music for you. Thank you, Justin, for recognizing the name of that band. Loose Trucks. Oh, Mojo's walked in. Mofo. And then Salva and the Heavy Friends. So Salva's got some stuff cooked up for you all. Stick around, should be fun. But now I introduce Avery Waters. Okay, folks. Well,
With that, if you have, is the ice cream still here? Oh, with that, I would transition to ice cream, let the bands plug in, and start hearing some music. Thank you all very much. Hope you're enjoying this. Oh, the ice cream truck's only here till 5, so run and stampede and trip over everyone.